state-of-the-art technologies, innovative business strategies, behind the scenes, insights from cutting-edge users around the globe on World Business Review with Alexander Haig.
Welcome to World Business Review. I'm Alexander Haig. Many software and product development projects experience problems such as cost and schedule overruns, poor quality, or they simply fail to meet the customer's expectations. Often these problems can be traced back to the requirement definition phase of the project. Here for this discussion is Ivy Hooks, President and CEO of Compliance Automation, Inc. Welcome, Ivy. We're delighted to have you.
Well, and I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
Good. Now, our industry expert for this segment is our old friend, Dr. Mike Pregman, Executive Vice President, Quality Assurance Institute. And Mike, you're always welcome, as you know.
Al, I'm delighted to join you today.
Now, Mike, what can happen when projects' goals aren't clearly defined from the very outset?
Well, traditionally what we refer to this, Al, as scope creep. And scope creep occurs when the producer or the developer isn't on the same page with the user or the customer. And what traditionally happens is that we have budget overruns, cost overruns, target dates are missed, goals are missed, and obviously this increased the cost tremendously.
Very good. Now, Ivy, how does compliance automation address these problems?
Well, we try to educate people as to why they're having the problem, processes that are very pragmatic that can help them overcome the problem, and literally to teach them how to define what they want. What are their requirements? So
this is a give-and-take working project in its own right, is that it?
It is. It very much is. It's the front end. It's the critical front end.
Right. Now, I know that good communication skills are very critical in this, but how do you get the whole team communicating in a very meaningful way?
One of the first things we try to do is let them know they're not communicating in a very meaningful way. And that's putting them together as a team and putting them through some exercises.
Very good. Now, how do you deal with a customer that doesn't really know what they want in the first place? And that's a problem. Well,
that's pretty much the norm.
It is the norm.
It is the norm. Not that they don't have some idea, but it's how to get it out of their head onto a piece of paper. We take them through what we call as a scope activity, so we don't have scope creep. We teach them how to define their needs and goals and objectives, to talk to their stakeholders, and we do this in a group activity. We put them together and you get a lot of ahas. Ahas are wonderful. It's when marketing realizes that the engineers are really pretty sharp, or that the software people finally understand what the business analyst really meant. And once you've passed that, they start to communicate much better. Then we have some other techniques we teach too.
Very good. Now, Mike, we often hear that one of the major frustrations of the project team is scope creep, as you said. What would you recommend they do to prevent this?
Well, the important thing, Al, is that they really have to follow a specific process or methodology. And in the industry, we've used some things and some techniques such as an SLA or a service level agreement or a project contract, which essentially is not really a legal requirement. It's just mainly putting the two on the same wavelength so that they're communicating that these requirements are the true requirement that the customer and the user is expecting.
Very good. Now, Ivy, how does compliance automation help a company write good requirements?
Well, one of the problems is people don't know what makes a good requirement. And we give them checklists. And we show them why, if they write them incorrectly, they will get problems. We also have people capture what we call rationale. Why do you need the requirement? It's a wonderful question to ask. And many times you get rid of a lot of requirements because there's no justification.
They didn't want them in the first place, though.
Yeah, but they thought they did. Or they wanted to tell somebody how to build it for them, which is what your developers hate. Your developers get a requirement that's really telling them exactly how to build it. That's not what they want. They want to know, what do you want? Let me figure out how to build it. And by doing that, we can get them to stay on course.
Very good. Now, Mike, who do you recommend be on the requirement definition team?
Well, obviously the stakeholders have to participate, and that includes a group such as your business analyst, your developer or your producer, your project manager perhaps, certainly the software tester or lead tester, the test manager, and absolutely the user or the customer who has the main requirement and who has the main input and the main need for the software that's being developed.
Yeah. Now, Ivy, why can't people write good requirements? What I'm saying is, does the problem reside with the people or with the corporate culture, or is it both?
Unfortunately, of course, it's both. But when we started to try to help people do better requirements, we really took on the people. Can they learn it? Can they be taught how to do this? Is there a way to teach people how to do this better? And there is. And we've developed a number of tools and techniques to help them do better. The culture one is a really big problem. And it's not a software problem, okay? It's kind of a American problem we have. We reward heroes. We don't reward people who do it right the first time. We reward people who fix things. To the point that we have firefighters who commit arson. Because you only get medals for putting out fires, not for preventing fires. Well, that happens in the office place too. And so management rewards people who are running around fixing things all the time. But what we'd really like to have is a process where we get it done right the first time.
Yeah, that makes good sense.
Absolutely. Ivy, how do you help companies incorporate industry standards related to requirements, development, and documentation?
Well, you know, the reason we have standards at all, and we have them for many things, not just software and not just requirements, is to help us do better and not make the same mistakes someone else made. So we spend a lot of time researching what's going on in the world of standards, understanding what's coming out, and then showing people how to implement that in the simplest way possible and not see it as a burden, but as a way to keep you from having a problem.
Very good. Well, now the clock tells me we're going to have to terminate this very, very interesting and increasingly important subject. But before doing so, let me thank you, Ivy, for your fine presentation today.
Well, and thank you for having me here.
Very good. And Mike, as always, you're indispensable.
Al, I appreciate it and really enjoyed it.
And thank you for watching. Until next time, for World Business Review, I'm Alexander Hay.